2 minutes? 2. Good morning. I would like to take this opportunity as the provost to introduce President Blake. He is starting his 3rd year, and he has some just an exciting set of information, news, highlights, as he's done every year for us as we start the year 2016. And so with that, please welcome President Blake.
Colleagues, good morning. Welcome to the Macon campus of Middle Georgia State University. I also welcome those faculty and staff who are attending through video conference technology and others who may be watching on YouTube. It's good to have you here. And welcome to the first State of the University address. Marty, thank you for the introduction, and I would like to publicly acknowledge and congratulate Marty on her forthcoming elevation and promotion to the role of Deputy Vice Chancellor at the University System of Georgia. We're thrilled for you, Marty. Congratulations to Marty. Last week, President Obama shared his priorities for the nation during his final State of the Union address. One day later, Governor Nathan Deal announced his priorities for Georgia in the 2016 State of the State address. This morning, as we look to what lies ahead in 2016, here in Middle Georgia, I am pleased to have the opportunity to engage each of you on the state of the university. Like a country or a state, a university is a community made up of members from many walks of life, each with a distinct role in the development of the institution. For our students, the role is to advance toward an educational credential that will open up new opportunities while gaining life experience. For our faculty, the role is that of both educator and scholar, guiding our students in their academic efforts while adding to society's understanding of our various fields of expertise and knowledge. For our staff, our role is that of servant leader, providing excellent service to the people of Middle Georgia and support for the work of our students in their learning. For each and every one of us, success hinges on living our values of stewardship, engagement, adaptability, and learning. Now, you have heard a lot about these values since we articulated them some 18 months ago. And as we enter our first semester, enrolling both undergraduate and graduate students, I am pleased to report that it has indeed been a highly successful year. Together, we have realized the vision of becoming Georgia's newest public university. The path that led us here has at times been daunting, yet together we have reached a moment when we are articulating who we are as never before. One might say that we are fatigued, but we are also thriving. My hope is that as we come back into the full swing of a spring semester following the holiday break, we have released some of that fatigue and returned ready to focus on thriving. The fact is that we have every reason to be hopeful. Our enrollment for spring 2016 is flat with last year. That is consistent with national trends. For Middle Georgia State, though, it is encouraging news, as our enrollment had been in an annual decline for several years. We have weathered the resulting budget cuts by running an extremely lean organization. I understand that that means many of you wear more than one hat, and I cannot thank you enough for your continued dedication to our students' success during these lean years. From 2011 to 2015, our credit hours decreased by 25%. This semester, compared to last spring of 2015, we are on track to see an increase from 78,500 credit hours last spring to 80,180 this spring. Now, while a 2% increase may seem insignificant, it is actually very significant indeed. It is our first increase in 5 years. Moreover, we have fared well among both new and returning students. This semester, we welcomed 600 new students compared to 550 last spring. At least as importantly, more of our students from the fall semester returned for this spring, 92% of them this year compared to 90.75% last spring. What does this mean for our future and for our bottom line? While we will not have the full picture of our enrollment-driven state appropriations for several months, having halted the enrollment decline bodes well for our next budget. As Georgia's only 4-year school of aviation, we could say that we are no longer losing altitude on enrollment. However, please let me be clear. Our long-term financial recovery will still take time and will continue to require bold and difficult decisions requiring an aggressive commitment to recruitment, retention, and graduation of students. Our complete College Georgia aspirations remain absolutely intact. For the moment, we can breathe a sigh of relief, and we should celebrate the hard work that you have accomplished in getting us here. Yet, in the short, continued success will depend on selective strategic investments in the institution. Now, the principles that will guide our investment is the strategic plan that we unveiled last August. As you'll recall, the plan calls for us to focus on 5 strategic initiatives. Firstly, the quality and distinctiveness of student success. Secondly, our academic reputation, our flagship programs, and our outreach to the community that is Middle Georgia. Thirdly, developing a technology infrastructure for a 21st century university. Fourthly, sustainable fiscal health. And fifthly, the university community that we are of the people, the faculty and staff that makes Middle Georgia State. Now, 6 months into the first year of that plan, we are making progress on each of those directions. For instance, we have convened a group that will deliver recommendations shortly on the investment in faculty and staff to drive for long-term excellence. We welcomed the recent news that state resources from Georgia will be made available for 3% merit-based salary increases for all employees. As the university system develops the details for the first raises awarded in years, we will stand ready to follow the system guidelines in a way that rewards performance and prepares Middle Georgia State for the future. In the meantime, we will make every effort to steward existing resources in a way that allows us to work smarter and not simply harder. For example, we will streamline the way we offer professional development opportunities to our faculty and staff. Rather than putting the onus on each of us to recall the particular subject, the deadlines, the web links, the various mandatory trainings, we will create an employee course in D2L set to launch on March the 1st that will be a one-stop shop for each of us to come into full compliance and find useful resources for our professional decision-making. This effort, the result of a collaboration between human resources, risk management, academic affairs, and my own office of president, is one of the ways that we are making headway on initiatives that use technology to invest in our people. Now, of the 47 initiatives included in our strategic plan for this academic year, there are 25 that are either completed or well underway. Thank you for that achievement. I am pleased to report that we have now drafted a template for scoring progress on the strategic plan. That template was reviewed by my cabinet this week and will now allow us to report to the university community quarterly progress beginning this March. As I announced earlier this month and also at the beginning of this meeting, our Provost, Marty Venn, who has ably led our strategic planning process, will be departing shortly from Middle Georgia State to assume her new role in academic affairs at the University System of Georgia. While planning the search for a new provost has already begun and further announcements will be coming out next week, we cannot afford to wait for a new permanent chief academic officer to advance our remaining initiatives and continue the strides taken academically under Marty's able leadership. We have indeed come a long way. We are realizing the vision of a university in ways that exceeded our own expectations. For example, we expected to enroll 12 graduate students in our first semester, this spring semester, where we've been offering master's degrees. We have, in fact, outpaced that expectation by more than 300%. My congratulations to the schools of nursing and IT. So far, we have enrolled 49 students in our Master of Science in Information Technology and our Master of Science in Nursing programs. Perhaps most encouraging about that figure are the faces behind it. Of our new graduate students, 80% are alumni of Middle Georgia State, having earned either their associate or baccalaureate degrees at MGA or one of our predecessor institutions. Their choice to return to Middle Georgia State indicates that our strategy of offering demand-driven programs is effective. We have pledged to the community to be responsive to the needs, to help remove the barriers of economic growth, and to provide education that meets economic development needs. And we are succeeding in those efforts. This is the beginning. We will soon submit 2 more master's degrees for Board of Regents approval this spring, one in management and another in education. And we have begun moving forward on a comprehensive multi-year aviation strategic plan. That plan calls for statewide expansion of our aviation programs over the next 3 years, the first phase of which has already begun, with flight programs now offered in East Macon at the downtown airport. Continued success will require a coordinated strategy for distinction and integration. To that end, I cannot overstate the importance and the urgency of academic master planning, which begins with the leadership and creativity of our academic departments and schools to ensure that we have academic diversification and integration across our campus communities. As a university, we are ethically and professionally obliged to provide viable 4-year offerings on all campuses, not in a one-size-fits-all fashion, but in a way that selectively offers programs that play to our local and to our regional strengths. Our academic offerings are the deliverable that every unit and function must help support. How? For starters, we must recognize and honor diversity in every sense of the word. Each of our campuses is uniquely different. We must play to each of their strengths, finding and articulating our niche in our communities that we call home. Each of our students is different. We must open doors and provide tools to aid in their advancement, which means creating an environment that both expands their horizons and also respects their beginnings. You will recall our Vice President for Student Affairs, Jennifer Brannon, issued a notice that this semester we will be conducting university-wide communications about how to build diversity at Middle Georgia State. Further details will be forthcoming very shortly, and this is a timely moment for our university community to engage in a truly educational and collaborative way about enhancing the valuing of diversity of all who make Middle Georgia State their working home, whether as students, faculty, staff, or visitors. So this week, I've tasked Executive Director of Human Resources, Dr. Lisa Burrows, and our University Counsel, Francis Davis, to work with Vice President Brannon in organizing our campus conversations on diversity, equity, and inclusion. These senior leaders will use the outcomes from those conversations, as well as data gathered through students and employee campus climate surveys, as well as research on best practices and guidance from the USG. And then they will outline and present to me a series of recommendations for going forward this spring. Our student population, like that at every college and university across this country, is evolving. More students are earning degrees online. More are starting college while still in high school. Now, we need to evolve with them. For instance, we are the first institution in the university system of Georgia to offer a competency-based Associate of Science in Information Technology through our eCampus. I am also happy to report that the number of talented high school students getting their college careers started at Middle Georgia State is on the rise. Nearly 400 dual enrollment students are taking courses here this semester. That is up 13.5% over last year. Not only are more students starting college at Middle Georgia State, more are earning their baccalaureate degrees. In 2015-16, the number of graduates receiving bachelor's degrees will increase by an estimated 20% over last year. As we continue to develop our academic programs and our academic strength, the questions driving our efforts must extend beyond what do our current students need. We must ask instead, what will they need as they progress in their careers from here on? What will tomorrow's students need? In an era of staggering student debt, more students and families are looking critically at costs and value for money. Here again, we have an advantage on which to build. We are currently the most affordable state university in Georgia. In fact, tuition and fees at the next least expensive institution is a whopping 39% higher than the cost of attending Middle Georgia State. As we well know, affordability is a double-edged sword. It means that we are having to do more with less. It also means that we are tremendous value. An analysis of our 2014-15 graduates shows that 45% of them earned their credential with zero student debt. And among those who did borrow, average debt is less than $25,000. That's nearly 17% less than among their peers nationally. At a time of national student indebtedness at over $1 trillion, we must continue to sustain our brand as an extraordinary value for money institution. Now, the USG has announced its intention to avoid raising tuition. I am pleased to report that in our conversations, the system has also understood and expressed its willingness to consider helping us find sources of funding that don't ride on the backs of students. Those sources, paired with an improved enrollment picture, mean that our financial horizon is looking brighter. In the budget for this academic year, we withstood a $3.6 million cut in state appropriations. In the budget for 2016-17, the upcoming budget, we will also be able to withstand a $1.9 million cut in state appropriations. By comparison, our estimated budget for 2 years' time, 17-18, the one that will be determined by this semester's and this year's enrollment figures, the one that's dependent on where we are now, that budget would only require us to cut, as of today, approximately $250,000 from state appropriations. Moreover, given the funding formula for graduate school credits innovative partnerships with employees such as the Georgia Department of Corrections and other initiatives we're undertaking, we may yet still avoid any cuts for the 2017-18 year altogether. Every student counts. In addition, this has been a record fundraising year for the Middle Georgia State University Foundation, including an increase in faculty and staff giving, a 10-point jump from 50 to 60% participation in our employee campaign. Thank you. We have recently completed a feasibility study and have plans to launch a multi-million-dollar initiative to match our strategic goals. The foundation board is set to vote on those plans next week. Thank you to all of you, all of us that have helped achieve that record this year. So what does this all add up to? To me, it adds up to a university in a state of positive transition, one where our focus is simultaneously on doing the important work before us this semester as we plan to look ahead for the years and the semesters in front of us. While we do not have time this morning for a Q&A session, I do welcome your feedback from everyone who calls Middle Georgia State their home, on what I have shared with you today and on other occasions. And those of you in this room, I will be available to talk with you after this speech. But I encourage each and every one of us to attend the open office hours that I hold next week in Macon and Cochran, which I will continue to schedule regularly. And also, of course, to send your ideas, which are thoroughly and properly investigated at the Office of the President comments at MGA. You know it as the Greatness Dropbox. As a university, we have now been born, and we have crawled like a baby. This year, we're beginning to walk. Now the decision is ours. Will we stumble or will we stride into the next phase of our development? I have every confidence that the dedicated faculty, staff, and students of Middle Georgia State will continue to march ahead. In the unforgettable words of Martin Luther King Jr., whose birthday we celebrated this week, we cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must take the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. Thank you for all you do to march forward, and thank you for listening today.